Brotherhood versus sisterhood. Get it?
Neither did we.
Neighbors 2. So Neighbors 2 is the sequel to Neighbors, which came out 2 years ago. And again, like the last one, it stars Seth Rogen, Rose Byrne, Zac Efron, along with a new cast of sorority members played by Chloe Moretz. And I can't remember who the last two were to save my life right now. Mac and Kelly, played by Rogen and Byrne, are trying to sell their new house because they just got a new one, along with a new baby along the way. And before they can sell their new house, they realize that a sorority has moved in, and basically, in order to sell their house, they can't have any screw-ups, and they're afraid the sorority just might screw it up for them. Alright guys, so let's get into Neighbors 2. So, I have a new guest with me, my pal Erin, who comes with me to screenings all the time. She's the reason why I got my passes for Jungle Book and Civil War, so you can thank her for having me seen those movies early. I like the first Neighbors. Did you like the first Neighbors?
I loved the first Neighbors.
My main concern with Neighbors 2 is that I don't know if you saw Hangover Part 2.
Yes.
So, I thought this was gonna be a Hangover Part 2 because where Neighbors 1 was so funny and so fun, I thought that this was gonna do the exact same thing but try and be darker, but didn't feel that one with this whatsoever. I felt that it was still fun, but not as fun, but it was still fun. Like, I knew what it was still.
Right. Yeah, I agree. It was funny.
Zac Efron, still the best thing about the entire film. And here's the thing, I was never a big, okay, this is going back, I never watched the High School Musical movies, like, ever. I never watched them, but I loved him in the first Neighbors. He was still the best thing about this one. I felt that Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne, even though Rose Byrne is so out of his league, they still work well off each other, I feel like.
I agree. Everybody works well off each other in that movie. They were all really good.
Everybody does, and it's still very funny. Like, there's this one joke that you and I were laughing hysterically about, which we will not spoil. But I'll just say about this. It's a too soon joke, but it was so hysterical still. I don't know how they got away with it. And the thing I was really surprised about the most was the fact that even though it's very recycled from the very first one, they brought in gags, like an old gag from the first movie, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And they brought it back, and still they made it hysterical, but it was in the best way possible how they used it. Again, I'm not saying this is the best comedy sequel ever, that's not what I'm saying, but it's a lot better than most that are out there. Hangover Part 2.
Well, as you all know, Zac Efron is mighty fine to look at. And
why did I think you're gonna say that?
That doesn't change in this movie. No matter what he's been through, he's still pretty good to look at. You don't have to be too young to get these jokes or too old. I mean, the jokes are great. Yeah. They're spot on. You do laugh from point A to point B.
Yeah, exactly.
There's so many good jokes and so many funny things that happen that you're just gonna be like, oh my gosh, they really did go there.
Now, despite us saying it's like one of the better comedy sequels, it's not better than the first one. I'm just gonna get that right off the bat. It is recycled, and they do what they can do with the recycled bits, but it's not as fresh. But the good thing is they understand what they're trying to do, but some of the stuff just does not work. The sorority house, I'm not trying to be sexist or anything, but the sorority girls honestly just did not work for me. Like, I just felt like they just did the exact same thing as the frat house did, honestly. Chloe Moretz, and I love her. She had maybe one or two funny moments, but that's it. But there was this one girl who we can both agree wasn't that great. I can't remember who her name is, but her picture will be up right there. Erin said something to me just before I started filming, so say it.
She reminded me of a Pitch Perfect type scene with Fat Amy. That's who she reminded me of.
But no, I can agree with you there. She honestly annoyed the crap out of me. She really did. It wasn't as consistent with the laughs that the first one was, honestly, but still funny.
Yeah, you can't win them all.
Overall, for me, Neighbors 2, well, it's not as good as the first one, but it's still one of the better comedy sequels out there. It's not a Hangover Part 2, which I was fearing it was going to be. Thank God it wasn't. So overall, I'm going to give Neighbors 2 a 3.5. I feel like that's a reasonable score. Not as good as the first one, but it knows what it is. It does what it can with the recycled bits, even though I think the sorority sisters, I guess, weren't as cleverly used as they could have been used.
I agree with him. They weren't used like they should have been used. Yeah. they could have done a whole lot more. I'm not going to be as gracious as him and give it a 3.5. I'm only going to give it a 3.
Okay, but still, you know, worthwhile seeing.
It was still fair. I mean, it was funny. I laughed. I mean, I laughed throughout the whole movie. If I hadn't laughed, probably would have been a little lower.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Alrighty, guys, so that was Erin Hayes' review of Neighbors 2. Erin, thank you for joining me on this. If you guys liked what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe to see more content from me and for one guest to come aboard. And as always, until the next review, we will see you guys, or I will see you guys, next time.
Bye.